गोल्डन एरा ऑफ ग्रोथ 2003 to 2008। बेटा अब हम बात करेंगे व्हाट हैपेंड ड्यूरिंग द पीरियड ऑफ 2003 to 8। इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ वाज ब्रॉड बेस्ड, एग्रीकल्चर, इंडस्ट्री एंड सर्विस कंट्रीब्यूटेड टू ग्रोथ। तो देखा गया कि ऑल थ्री सेक्टर्स दे हैव कंट्रीब्यूटेड टू ग्रोथ इन दिस पीरियड। तीनों ही सेक्टर प्रॉस्पर कर रहे थे। There was improved corporate profitability and favorable investment climate due to restructuring measures by domestic industry in the previous period। तो क्या देखा गया कि जो हमारी कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर की प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी थी वो बहुत ज्यादा बढ़नी शुरू हो गई। एंड इट वाज सीन दैट इट वाज अ फेवरेबल इन्वेस्टमेंट क्लाइमेट। जो फर्म्स थे दे वर इंटरेस्टेड इन इन्वेस्टिंग विद इन द इकोनॉमी। व्हाई? बिकॉज वी हैड टेकन अ लॉट ऑफ गुड मेजर्स ड्यूरिंग द earlier period। A distinguishing feature of the golden era was dramatic doubling of private corporate savings from 3.9 to 7.9%। ये देखा गया कि ना ही सिर्फ हाउसहोल्ड सेक्टर का सेविंग्स इंक्रीज हो रहा था, बट इवन प्राइवेट कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर सेविंग्स दे हैड इंक्रीज्ड from 3.9% to 7.9%। Reduction in fiscal deficit and overall government borrowing freed up resources for investment by the private corporate sector। बट आई हैव टोल्ड यू कि जो भी हमारा सेविंग होता है या तो वो गवर्नमेंट यूज करती है अपने फिस्कल डेफिसिट के लिए, या वो प्राइवेट सेक्टर के पास चला जाता है फॉर इन्वेस्टमेंट। नाउ व्हेन फिस्कल डेफिसिट इज लेस, तो गवर्नमेंट विल नीड लेस मनी, so more money can go to the private sector and it can increase the investment। This was due to increase in gross tax to GDP ratio of the central government and containment of subsidies। और ये क्यों हुआ? Why this happened? Because government increased taxes। Deficit क्या होता है? Revenue और expenditure का difference। Now if revenue is increasing because of increase in taxes, तो automatically deficit will be less। Deficit कम होगा तो money will go to the private sector। So it was seen that gross tax to GDP ratio had increased and that subsidies have decreased। तो गवर्नमेंट का खर्चा कम हो गया, रेवेन्यू बढ़ गया, डेफिसिट कम हो गया। जब डेफिसिट कम हुआ तो गवर्नमेंट को पैसा बोरो करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी और वो सेविंग्स प्राइवेट सेक्टर के यूज आ पाई। Due to overall reduction in domestic nominal and real interest rate, fiscal consolidation, strong global demand, and easy global liquidity and monetary condition, there was increases in overall savings rate, which led to more resource for domestic investment, higher public and private, with broadly stable household saving। समझो ध्यान से बेटा। Due to reduction in interest rate, अब interest rate गिर गए तो हमें पता है कि इन्वेस्टमेंट जो होता है that is I bar minus BI। So when interest rate decrease, investment increases। Fiscal consolidation, that means fiscal deficit decreased, borrowing government को नहीं चाहिए थी, so investment started increasing। Strong global demand, हमारे फर्म्स को बाहर से ज्यादा डिमांड आ रही थी। To fulfill those demand, they had to increase the investment। Easy global liquidity and monetary condition, easily पैसा मिल रहा था, liquidity high था। There was increase in savings rate and more resources for domestic investment। इन reasons की वजह से savings भी बढ़ी और investment भी बढ़ी। Higher public and private savings with broadly stable household savings। देखा गया कि household savings तो increase हो ही रही थी, but there was also increase in private savings। Private sector firms were also saving more। वो हमने पढ़ा ना, from 3.9 to 7.9। And at the same time, because the public sector had become more efficient, it also started saving money। So there was increase in private and public savings also। Inflation was under control। Inflation completely control में था। Infrastructure investment was stepped out by 1% over the period, with the increase divided roughly equally between public and private sector। Infrastructure investment भी increase हो रहा था। There was improvement in infrastructure both in public and private sector, thereby increasing share of private sector investment in infrastructure. This can be seen through a notably increase in investment in roads. Better roadways ban rahe the, better railway sector ho raha tha. So infrastructure was improving. Improvement in infrastructure eventually contributed to high growth of manufacturing and trade. अब अगर better roads होंगी तो better connectivity होगा. Better connectivity means better transportation. So therefore, you can manufacture in one place and send to other places. So better trade, better manufacturing. Right, beta? So this was your golden era of growth. Okay. Now let's talk about the deceleration of 2012 to 18. अब हम ये बात करेंगे कि 2012 से 18 के बीच में क्या हुआ, what happened during that period. Macroeconomic and policy development contributed to the greatest slowdown during 2012 to 14. So 2012 से 14 के बीच में जो policies थी, that led to a great slowdown. Occurred in spite of consistent growth in preceding years and even sharp recovery after 2008 crisis. अब यहाँ पे जो हमारा whatever de-acceleration happened, जो भी हमारा GDP में decrease आया, we cannot account that to 2008 crisis. हम उसको 2008 के crisis से link नहीं कर सकते because after 2008 crisis we had made a recovery, right? But then again we saw a dip. This was due to overshooting the stimulus, monetary and fiscal that was used to address the NAFC crisis, caused inflation and pressures in the current account. अब क्या हुआ कि हमने उस टाइम पे after 2008 crisis, because there was recession, we started giving stimulus in the economy. Stimulus means क्या होता है बेटा? You increase government expenditure, you increase money, right? So when you increase G and M, it means you shift your IS and LM curve, अगर हम macro के हिसाब से देखें, है ना, to increase the output in the economy. Now, when this happens, what happens is that it leads to higher inflation in the economy, right? It causes inflation in the economy, right? And at the same time, it also causes pressure on your current account. Okay, so this is one thing that started happening. Now, another thing which we have to focus on, एक और चीज पे हमें बात करनी होगी, which is the NAFC crisis. NAFC crisis is basically nothing but North Atlantic financial crisis of 2008. ठीक है, वो वही क्राइसिस है जो बेसिकली आपका 2008 में आया, जिसको डील करने के लिए हमने गवर्नमेंट एंड मॉनेटरी पॉलिसीज को इंट्रोड्यूस किया, GNM को इंक्रीज किया. Subsequent monetary tightening, though somewhat tepid, then had the expected dampening impact on economic activity and growth. The efficacy of monetary policy to deal with inflation in this period was blunted by persistent inflation in food items, which required monetary policy to be in relatively tighter mode for long period. थोड़ा समझ लो एक बार इस बात को, क्या कह रहे हैं हम यहाँ पे. अब देखो क्या हुआ. IS LM, हम मॉनेटरी पॉलिसीज भी ला रहे थे और हम गवर्नमेंट फिस्कल पॉलिसीज भी ला रहे थे. Y was continuously increasing. इससे AD curve was continuously shifting to the right. AD, AS, AD was continuously shifting to the right. It was causing increase in the prices. So it was causing inflation. अब जब inflation आता है, so inflation means what? Price is increasing. So beta M by P में when P increases, this decreases. So basically it causes the supply of money in the real terms to fall. Huh? So it is followed by tightening monetary policy. It is followed by tightening monetary policy. Okay. Now, when you have tightening monetary policy, it means the LM curve will start shifting backward. जब LM curve backward shift होगा तो output will also decrease. Economic growth will also fall. ठीक है. And when that will happen, then the AD curve will also start shifting backward. But at the same time, what started happening is that we had inflation in the food items. Food का हमारे पास shortage था, due to which there was inflation in the food items, and therefore उस inflation को और curb करने के लिए we had to further bring tightened monetary policy for a long period of time. The quality of fiscal stimulus, which focused on tax cut and increased revenue expansion while keeping capital outlay stagnant, added to demand pressure. अब हमने क्या किया कि क्योंकि हमें एक स्टिमुलस इकोनॉमी में लेके आना था, वी हैड टू इंक्रीज वाई. तो y को इंक्रीज करने के लिए वी नो y इज c प्लस i प्लस g प्लस nx, सो वी स्टार्टेड इंक्रीजिंग g. गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर को तो हमने इंक्रीज किया ही किया, बट वी स्टार्टेड डिक्रीजिंग द टैक्सेस. Right? Now, when we started decreasing the taxes, what happened is that Y started increasing, G started increasing, or demand of people started increasing. So there was an added pressure on demand, which were then misrode in high inflation. The withdrawal of fiscal stimulus also was hesitant and slow. अब जब गवर्नमेंट को दिखना शुरू हो गया कि यार जब हम जी इंक्रीज करते हैं गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर, सो थ्रू द मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट आउटपुट भी इंक्रीज होता है, डिमांड बढ़ती है, और जब डिमांड बढ़ती है तो इन्फ्लेशन आती है इकोनॉमी में. बट स्टिल द गवर्नमेंट डिड नॉट विड्रू दिस. ये फिस्कल स्टिमुलस को विड्रॉ नहीं किया गया, बहुत स्लो था. There was a steep decline in public investment after 2008, which contributed to growth slowdown, particularly in manufacturing sector. At the same time, public sector investment बहुत majorly decrease हो गई, especially in the manufacturing sector, जिसकी वजह से manufacturing sector started to slow down. The delayed and incomplete withdrawal of fiscal stimulus led to crowding out of private sector, which might have also hampered the private corporate investment. अब ये हमने पढ़ा है कि when G increases, अगर ये G increase होता है तो it puts a pressure on investment, crowding out effect होता है, and private sector investment decrease होना start हो जाता है. Right? So it also hampered the private sector investment. The high nominal interest rate in the environment of subdued growth also impacted corporate profitability and investment. Again, बेटा ये भी हमने macro में बहुत बारी देखा है. We have seen it multiple times that when G increases, जब government expenditure बढ़ता है, so if I look at the ISLM curve, G increase means IS rightward shift होगा, which means interest rate will increase. If interest rate will increase, so investment is I bar minus BI, so investment will decrease, right? अगर मैं कम invest करूंगी तो I will have less capital, less profitability. So there was impact on profitability and investment. The current account deficit widened well beyond comfort level. Global exports declined. अब investment नहीं होगी तो export decline हो ही जाएंगे. Plus, because global crisis आया है, global demand नहीं है. Nobody is demanding your goods. So again, exports will decline. High domestic inflation, negative real interest rate on deposit encouraged gold import. अब क्या हुआ कि क्योंकि यहाँ पर हमारा इन्फ्लेशन काफी हाई होना शुरू हो गया था, and whenever there is uncertainty in the economy, whenever inflation is high, हाँ, और real interest rate कम हो रहा था. What is real interest rate? Real interest rate is in nominal minus inflation. अब nominal तो increase हो रहा है, but inflation is also increasing. So real interest rate is decreasing. So if real interest rate will decrease, so people are not getting money on their savings. So people will invest in gold. तो gold को हमें import करना पड़ा. Incomplete pass-through of international crude prices to domestic fuel prices led to greater demand for imported petroleum products. At the same time, हमने ये भी देखा कि उस पीरियड में जो हमारे crude oil prices थे, international crude oil prices, वो high थे. And when we were importing petroleum products from outside, मतलब हम high value import कर रहे थे, that was also leading to current account deficit. Appreciation pressure on real exchange rate from large capital flow added to current account deficit pressure. और इस टाइम पे ये भी देखा गया कि जो हमने 1991 में करेंसी डीवैल्यू की थी, जस्ट द ऑपोजिट ऑफ दैट स्टार्टेड हैपनिंग. करेंसी पे एक एप्रिसिएशन प्रेशर डलना शुरू हो गया, बिकॉज ऑफ विच व्हेन देयर विल बी एप्रिसिएशन व्हाट हैपेंस बेटा, एक्सपोर्ट विल डिक्रीज, इंपोर्ट विल इंक्रीज, इट विल लीड टू फर्दर current account deficit. So there was further current account deficit in the economy. Foreign exchange reserves were not increased and real effective exchange rate appreciated during this period. A key feature of great slowdown is significant deacceleration in industrial growth since 2011. तो देखा गया कि जो हमारी इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ थी उसमें काफी ज्यादा स्लो डाउन आ गया था. The available data do not provide a consistent picture of industrial growth pattern during this period, but given macroeconomic factor at the time, it is expected industrial output fell. अब ऑफ कोर्स अगर इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ नहीं होगी, इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं होगी, तो क्लियर है कि उस टाइम पे इंडस्ट्री का जो आउटपुट होगा दैट वुड हैव आल्सो डिक्लाइंड. ओके बेटा, थैंक यू.